Diana has been stomping the jungle for pretty much the majority of Season 12, so if you haven't already mastered her, here's a quick guide to help get you started that you can watch even in Champion Select. Diana is a fast clearing jungler with solid early dueling potential and hugely effective ganks once she's level 6. She gains a ton of burst throughout the game and a fantastic way to engage with that super fast gap closer and obviously her ultimate. She is however pretty reliant on hitting that Q, especially in the early ganks, as without that E reset she can struggle to keep up with you. Diana's engage, although very strong, is also a bit predictable, as if you save your dashes and flashes for that ultimate she shouldn't be as much of a threat. Diana players also have a tendency to power farm because of how easy it is to tear through those jungle camps, and if she gets a bit too carried away with that, she can often fall behind due to a lack of early game impact. For Diana's runes, you're going to want to go for Conqueror. You can stack it super easily and you can hugely benefit from the bonus damage and healing throughout fights. After that, go for Triumph, Legend Alacrity and Coup de Grace. For your secondary runes, get yourself Booties and Cosmic Insight for some much needed Summoner Spell and Item Haste. More flashes and more Zhonya's is a win-win. You're going to want to max your Q first as it's your main damaging ability, then your W second and finish off with that E. Moving on to those items now, and Leona would be proud because Sunfire Aegis is what most players are having a lot of success with, despite the conflicting lore. It just gives you so much durability and helps you stay alive once you dive into those teams to engage. Plus that scaling tenacity is very underrated. Hextech Rocket Belt is one that's been built for ages on this champion though. More mobility, more burst, and of course the auto attack reset, which works super well with Diana's passive. Aside from those mythic items, you've got plenty of other items worth considering. If you've gone down the more AP Bruiser path, Nashor's Tooth and Demonic Embrace do work wonders. If you've gone for more of a damage route though, Rabadon's Death Cap and Morellonomicon are also very popular choices. Whichever mythic and item build you go for though, Zhonya's Hourglass and Shadow Flame are pretty much must-buy items, and sooner rather than later. Also, don't forget about those situational items too, in Void Staff, Magi's Soul Stealer and Banshee's Veil. Moving on to matchups, and against easier ones you can look to gain an easy level 4 first clear and try and fight them sooner rather than later. These champions are generally slower at clearing than you, so you likely often have an experience lead which you can then abuse to force fights against them by invading them and taking them and their jungle camps down with them. Against harder matchups though, you're going to have to respect them a lot more. If you meet these guys in the river or the jungle, you don't really have an answer to them early game, and they'll most likely just be able to outduel you. You're going to stand a much better chance once you're level 6, as you then have some CC, but before then, avoid them in 1v1s at all costs. Instead, play to destroy the map instead with your level 6 ganks and always play alongside your allies. Diana synergizes extremely well with champions that can combine with her ultimate to set up some pretty huge wombo combos. Yasuo is the most obvious choice, but other picks such as Misfortune, Nara and Victor can also work brilliantly. Diana's jungle clear is pretty simple, and you just want to full clear in the majority of games. On blue side you can start with blue buff, then Gromp, Wolves, Raptors, Red and Krugs to finish. By this time you should easily be able to grab that Scuttle Crab, potentially fight the enemy jungler in the river, or just set up a gank instead. On red side, start with your red buff, then Krugs, Raptors, Wolves and Blue and Gromp at the same time to finish for that level 4. Remember that when you're clearing the jungle to use your Q to gain vision of those camps, you can dash over walls to them with your E and save yourself some time, because when you're jungling every second counts. You should also make sure that all of the monsters of those jungle camps are in range of your passive to take them down quicker. In those early ganks you want to focus on primarily ganking for lanes that have some form of CC, as pre-6 you don't offer any. Make sure you're trying to hit that Q so you can use your E and then dash again to follow them if they do try and flash away. Keep auto attacking your enemy in those ganks as much as possible to use that passive too, as it does deal some surprising damage. Once you're level 6 you just want to use your ultimate whenever it's up. Clear those camps and gank as often as you can. You can actually use the minion waves and other targets to dash further towards your intended targets too. For example, you can Q and E the minion waves, then E to your enemies and pop your ultimate for longer range engages when you're ganking. Don't be afraid to get stuck into those objectives too. Due to your passive you can take them out pretty quickly, and if there's enemies coming to contest them, Diana is amazing in those early teamfights due to her ultimate. Talking of teamfights, you're mostly going to be looking for that big AoE ultimate engage. Your flash ER engaging combo can set up teamfights with ease and allow your allies to follow up and clean up the fight easily. Whether you are your team's main engage or whether you want to time your ultimate around your teammates' initiation, make sure you're getting stuck in either way and using this ability as often as you can. Diana is also fantastic at setting up flanks due to the nature of her teamfighting playstyle. If you manage to clear a few wards around a major objective, get an angle behind your enemies and come in at the right time, you should be able to pull off a massive ultimate on multiple targets. Remember to always use your flash and your Zhonya's in those big teamfights too. You can use your Zhonya's just after pressing your ultimate, and this means your enemies won't be able to kill you when you go in. You can also R and then flash instantly to land those big ultimates with far less reaction time for your enemies. Aside from big teamfights though, Diana also melts down objectives and structures in the late game due to her passive. Don't be afraid to focus on these too, as they are obviously a massive way to win games in the late game. Now let's take a look at a few quick tips and tricks. You can actually triple E for maximum mobility and damage, although it can be pretty damn hard to pull off. To do this, use your Q on 2 targets and jump to the first target hit before your Q hits the second target. Your E will then refresh to be usable again and then once more before the cooldown even starts. You can time your ultimate to cancel certain enemy mobility too. This works on abilities like Tristana's W, Lee Sin's ward jump, Kai'Sa's ultimate and plenty more. Don't be obsessed with landing your Q in those big late game teamfights. Yes, the E reset is nice to have, but your enemies will have far less time to react if you just use your E and flash before your ultimate. That brings us to the end of this quick guide on how to play Diana in the jungle in Season 12. Don't forget to click the link in the description to head on over to mobalytics.gg where you can find builds, runes, combos, guides and plenty more for Diana and every other champion in the game. That's all from us here at Mobalytics and we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.